Hello, we are here for a game of Burning Wheel. This is the I think the sixth episode, but the first in a new arc with only one character as opposed to three. Um, we are we are following the quest of one Suria Bulan, an alchemist and a young foreign noble in a land not her own, to find, well, the quest after the the great marriage, the secret formula or process that allows a person to become truly immortal. And as part of that quest, she has recently encountered a secret society known as the Bud of the Lotus, who seem to be pursuing the same goal and whose traps and monsters that they left behind killed one of her friends, drove another mad, and killed also her father, whose corpse she found and left behind in the temple where she was searching for this secret.
It was really just bones.
It was bones. It was very melted bones. Um,
Slag, really.
yeah. um, so yeah, I'm going to take us over to the map for a second because Will's map is just still excellent. Um,
I have to close my character sheet now.
yeah. So looking at this map that one of our ex players Will drew for us, we started
It's the purple one, right?
we started here in the jungle, looking for secrets in an old forgotten ruin. Um, and since then, the purple one was the like is a rough and random location for like your home city
Yeah. It
that
was
we were
like the
talking
home
about.
base.
Yeah. And the city we're in now is much further to the north. It's far towards the border of Chandrapur and Otsan. Um, So, as we discussed last week, this is a place where um, the the refugees fleeing from Chandrapur from a somewhat unknown menace have come down and ended up settling here around this city. Um, and this is also the city where Etan, the Otson sage, has made his base of operations. He was the man who led Otson in a successful war of defense against Chandrapur a generation back, maybe 50 years ago. He's now an old man and, in principle, retired. But in practice, I was about to say something really cliche. Um, um, in practice, the power still flows next to and about him. Um,
Yeah, like a
and
retired emperor or something.
he encourages this. Um, so let's go through beliefs,
Yeah.
maybe. Yeah,
Let's start with beliefs.
start with beliefs.
So I've got three. I will not suffer to live under the same stars as my father's murderers. I will find the bud of the lotus, the bud of the lotus, by convincing the priest in Quaquatzil. Is it Quaquatzil? I always have trouble pronouncing that.
Yeah, Quetzal.
Yeah, to allow me access to the temple vault. So like the temple vault is where like there were clues left behind in the previous tomb slash dungeon slash vault.
Yes.
And we're
Yeah.
we're
So
effectively on like a journey to find all these vaults. And
yes. Yeah.
the Bud of the Lotus have sort of sent out an open letter in that vault telling us like, hey, if you want to join us, like just come see us in the next vault. So that's where I'm
Yeah.
going. Only problem is it's like a sacred spot for priests, and it'll be tricky convincing them to let me in. I'm sure we find though. It's always fine. Next one is I've been thinking of a way to rephrase this, but it's been too long since my last report with my mentor. I'll seek out the Koatsu chapter of the assemblage by identifying and contacting their agent at Eton's court. And the assemblage is basically the secret society that Suria is in.
You wrote up a great document
Yeah,
about the assemblage that
it's
I'm
somewhere around
not.
I can find
I
it
think I
later.
have.
It's like these things are true. Is the big title to that.
Yeah. These things are known. Yeah, assemblage. These things are true. Choice is an illusion. Everything is fated. Knowledge is divine. And it's a society that really believes in the truth of the Jaon cults, that the world is predestined and that everyone follows the same path once over and over and again. To the extent that it's really saying it doesn't matter what you do in this life as long as it's moving humanity or moving yourself towards a position of greater knowledge, because eventually we will reach a point of perfect knowledge and have a perfect society.
Yeah. See how that goes.
Yeah, so the last statement: we of the assemblage hereby declare ourselves bound to this duty, the collection and advancement of knowledge, that all of mankind may benefit from its glory.
I'm glad you found that document because it's
Yeah.
in my Google Drive somewhere, and I don't know where exactly
I'll
it is.
link you to it again so you can take a look.
Cool. Lastly, knowledge is the only end. Everything else merely means it. So like that's sort of the guiding light belief, which is the summation of the assemblage's like philosophy, right? Often leads to like mad scientists, extremely unethical experiments, and other fun stuff. So I'm excited to see how that plays out. My instincts are always share my knowledge with the ignorant, always demand the respect that is due my lineage, and never turn down the opportunity to collect rare antecedents.
Nice. Speaking of unethical experiments, you actually have some like really excellent unethical experiment notes that you could carry through at any point.
I assume I've been reading them, right?
I think you've been reading them. I think reading them and putting them into practice and
It's two different things.
It's two very different things. Yeah.
I'm aggressive. I have base humility. Also imperious, colorful, matriarchal. Hazed is like a weird die trait because like it's effectively a character trait once game starts.
Yeah.
Gifted, which allows me to do magic alchemy bullshit.
Yep.
And mark of privilege, which means I'm so cool that I can be more easily detectable as a noble because I'm so cool when trying to be a pleb. But yeah, basics of character are all here. Where do we want to start?
Yeah, so I think so you and Tepiani have been on the road for a while. I think you got back to your own city. I'm not sure how long ago exactly, but I think it's likely you spent a little time there before making the journey north again.
Yeah, remind me to poke you about practice time later on.
Yeah, I'm gonna make a note. Should we establish exactly how long it took?
I honestly don't really care.
Okay.
Right, like a time skip has happened. how long that time skip is.
I'll yeah, I'll take a look at some practice time numbers and work out something that seems okay. Um, just like leave you 2 days short of the test, kind of thing. Um, and you've arrived at this. You've arrived at Querquatzel in the north.
Mhm. What does it look like?
I think you coming down from the hills. You see you can see the plane that it's on. Quite a while before you can see the city itself, and it takes you maybe a day's more travel before you reach a side of the city. Um, there's a rocky plateau raising up, a cliff at the back, and then a slow rising hill leading up to it. Um, and that's covered in the stone-built old town, a mixture of um, city walls, rich noble houses that would have been built 10 generations ago and still have 4 generations in them now. Um, yeah, the noble houses keep to themselves, and then um, the temples as well. You can't see the main temple of the plateau because unlike the lesser temples, it sinks down into the ground. It's built an inverse pyramid, stepped downwards. Um, but you can tell that it's there partly from a large gap in the skyline. You'd expect the city to be fuller and more built up from where you're standing.
Hmm.
Um,
So like it sort of like gives that illusion that the city isn't like as built up as
it
it
gives the
is
illusion that
because.
the city is smaller at the top, or that there's a large open space. Um, yeah. Around the edges, you can see extending downriver for quite some way. The farms, gardens, and housing districts of the main city. Some of these are built on the river itself, floating along stable, stationary canal barges, essentially.
Hmm.
Um, some even large enough to have small trees upon. But quite often, uh, the the city is flat and rises only to the height of a first-story building. Second-story buildings down in the main city aren't terribly common. You see them towards the center, but people build long and sprawling lengthways along the river rather than upwards, sideways. Um, Mostly due to a concern of weight of distribution. Um,
Architecture is architecture.
yeah. And then further along, even further downriver, you can see that I think maybe this isn't so visible from this angle, but
You can kind of see like the
I think
scattered camps.
approaching along the road, I think you meet several people who are walking up the road away from you, um, and they are dressed in the ragged and slightly unwashed dress of the refugees. You can tell that in some cases they are wearing clothes that used to be very good, um, and many of them are still still dragging large bags of possessions, or in some cases there's 3 or 4 families driving a single cart with their valuables or their most treasured items heaped together within, and then 20 people following this one cart that they've managed to rent together. And these people are all heading further inland to find somewhere where there are fewer refugees and therefore perhaps more hospitality.
Hmm. Okay. I think like Suria is probably making a beeline to like A, secure lodgings, and B, uh what's his name again? Ethan? Like
Etan, yeah.
yeah, seeing Ethan as well. Right.
Yeah. I think the families, the refugees you pass on the road probably give you a wide berth because you're obviously not one of them.
Mm.
Um, and and that means that you're part of this Chandrapur elite who can kind of ignore the problems that they're going through.
Yep. Never said she was a good person.
um, so how much stuff have you brought with you? Are you like
I am definitely bringing in like basically everything, if possible. Like this is like the classic comical scene where like there's one carriage or like one like cart or whatever. Right?
hmm,
Like there's one. What's the word for it? It is carriage, isn't it? And like
Karen,
there's probably like another one behind it with all the other stuff.
so yeah, there's a
I'm trying to
wagon.
pack up my whole workshop and like move it to a new city.
Right. Right. Yeah, and the second wagon, I guess, like you can't really tell what's in any of the boxes because they're just like you've got like a foot-sized box full of like stuffing to get one small piece of glassware.
Mm.
Just because you really don't want it to have any impact. Um, mm.
Yeah, cotton can't be a good
S-
person then.
So, what district of the city are you staying in? Who are you thinking of staying with? Or are you thinking of staying with someone you know, with an old family member, with?
Let's see. I feel like trying to stay with an old friend might work out. But also, this is a lot of stuff. You know what? I don't think she cares. I think she's gonna try anyway. Yeah, I'd like to circles up an old college buddy who would be
Okay.
really just cool with the whole. Yeah, I'm just gonna move into your place. Ignore the like giant piles of stuff. They'll probably be like, I guess I'm looking for a noble of some sort, someone with like the space for this sort of shit.
Mm, yeah. Okay. Are they from Chandrapur or are they from somewhere else?
I think
Have they
they're from
moved to
Otsa.
Watson? They're from Watson. Okay.
I'm just not imagining it's like the sort of language exchange students because you had to learn the language, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I would like to make a circles test. Try to find this person.
Um, so we are looking for um doesn't matter on the occupation. Same station, rank or social class because you're both going to be noble.
Mm-hmm.
Disposition is going to be um friendly.
Yes,
Um,
that is
and
kind of important.
and also has lots of spare space. So that's
Yeah, but that's
possibly op.
kind of assumed when you're in nobility, right?
I feel like that's op 3.
Mm-hmm.
Because having spare space is an additional condition that you want to be the case, but
That's
isn't
fair.
necessary. Um,
So I have one circles. I'm gonna fork in an affiliation for being a princess.
okay.
Putri Minang. And that's me, I guess. My base obstacle is straight. You know what? I got this. I believe in the power of friendship. Here's the sixes. Two twos.
We didn't
A good
discuss what the failure would
Alright.
be.
Yeah.
Man, we're bad at this.
Don't do this at home, kids. Always discuss your
So
failure conditions.
enmity clause. When a player searches for a contact via his circles but fails the roll, the DM has the option to call on the enmity clause. Rather than finding someone who's favorably disposed, player finds he has an enemy out there. Um, I think instead of that, I'm just going to be unhelpful, and I'm going to say like, you actually can't find this person. Like you ask around, you're looking for, but it seems that they've moved to another city.
Mm.
So you're left.
That is quite annoying.
You're left. It's maybe 1 o'clock in the afternoon. Maybe 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon already. And you've not managed to find a place to lodge yourself. Um,
I guess I'm gonna have to rent a place. If I haven't found anyone, yeah, and like I have this much stuff,
yeah, you're yeah.
right? House hunting as well.
How much can you afford to pay?
I've got like one resources. It's not a good situation for me.
um,
It's one of the
yeah.
reasons I need to get back in contact with my
So the
resemblance.
resources for rent for a townhouse or country villa is going to be ob 3,
Hmm.
but you aren't going to have to pay that till the end.
Yeah. I'll just
You aren't
bluster my way
necessarily
through.
going to have to pay that. Yeah. So where do you look for like somewhere to rent? Are you looking for somewhere that looks safe or cheap or um or convenient to get to the places you're going to?
I think safe and convenient. Like I'm sort of like translating safe into like reasonably like luxurious, effectively. Right?
It's
It's like
reasonably like
it's like
it's your rent. Yeah, sorry.
it's safe in the sense that like, oh yeah, the streets are clean, there's no trash around, and the guards
Mm,
like patrol it. So like there's a certain like class element to it.
yeah, I think you find somewhere that's like a there's half of a merchant's house that used to be used for a shop, but the merchant's out traveling or something. Um, and so the shop's obviously closed up, but you can see people walking around and talking. Um, and yeah, walking up to the lady who's bossing everyone around. Um, you start talking to her. She instantly sees the like large pile of stuff behind you, and immediately moves into like. I think she actually like approaches you as you're walking up the street. Like calls out to you like, hey, princess, young noble, hey, you need somewhere to stay? I've got a large lots of space, lots of shelves, spare beds, clean food.
She like glances at him appraisingly. Like what did it look like?
Um, it's I think the house is one of these ones that's floating on a barge. It's obviously quite an old house. It's been decorated like the part that's lived in has been decorated, carving along the lintel and around the door frames of you assume they're like ancestors of this house, and some of them
Hmm.
look like protective spirits of some kind. So
Right.
there's birds and insects, that kind of thing. And the part that you'd be leaving your stuff in is essentially an annex. There'd be like a connecting door across to it, but the doors out onto the walkways are currently bolted. Right, there's big shutters down in front of the openings that stuff would be sold out of.
Yeah, I think like she is less concerned about like the specific like, oh, this is like compared to this or this. Like she's just looking for a place which like reasonably decent, looks okay, and we'll just pick the first one off the market.
Yeah,
Because I don't got time to deal with this.
yeah, okay. Um, Yeah, so she comes up, the lady in this house, she like as you stop and give it an appraising glance, she's like, um, I'll give you a good price, a very good price. How long are you staying for?
Oh, at least a month. I'm not quite sure how long. We can start with that. Yeah, and she's like walking into the house and like starting to look through it, like inside as well, as she's walking.
Yeah, and the lady nods. She's like, yeah, um, a month is good. A month is very good. Um, you, mm, I wonder how she says this. Um, maybe she does say it in a kind of um, you won't want to make me worried, will you? Um, you show me some money now, and the rest later.
Are you perhaps suggesting I couldn't pay for this place?
No, no, no. Of course not. I mean,
Then it
you're
is settled then.
obviously.
I will pay your fee, and I will pay it at the end of said month.
Ah, the times are difficult. There's many noble princesses such as yourself in this city, and of course you are obviously different from all of those other ones who've arrived by boats or across the desert. But if my husband found that I'd let his shop out to someone from Chandrapur, and he would say to me, "Wife, where is the deposit? Where is the advance?"
My deposit is in my name.
And your name is?
Ah, of course. I did forget to introduce myself. Putri Minang Surya Bulan. I understand, of course, you may not have heard of it.
An excellent name. It reminds me of once I saw another of your clan visiting the city. I think they were here to meet with Etan, but that was a long time ago, when he was young and I was young.
Oh, so you knew my father? How long ago was this?
20 years? 30?
Hmm, perhaps not. In any case, you have the decision before you. If you do not wish to take me, I can always find a different place.
Ah, you won't find a place better than this, princess.
I'm certain that your place is the best in all of Otza. I merely do not have the time to haggle. So I will give you 2 minutes to confer with your husband, and we shall make a decision.
Ah, my husband, he's away.
Well, then you should
That's
make
the
your decision on your own.
that's the difficulty. If he returns and you are here and the money is not here, and I'm very afraid for my. It is bad for children to see their parents argue, and she's like smiling as she says that. This is like clearly um total shit. Um, I
Yeah.
think she
Do you want to make a haggling test?
um I think we could do.
All
I
right.
think
So give me 1 second. I gotta sort something out, and we'll
Okay.
be right back.
Okay.
Okay, that would. Sorry. We back. You were saying something about her being bullshit?
Um. Yeah. Yeah, I think we could do a haggling test here. Like she wants to extract an advance of some kind out of you.
All right.
And you want to not pay an advance.
Because I can't.
Because you can't. Um, so I think failure here is that like it doesn't necessarily have to be haggling. I think it probably ought to be haggling, but it like if you can argue for it being something else, then we can go ahead. I think failure here is that she detects the evasion of someone who actually can't pay, as opposed to the like she names some sum that's like probably not nominal, but like about um maybe a sixth of the total that it would cost to stay here for the entire month, and that's still too much for you. So you can't even cover that, right?
Well, like, I'm not sure if I can cover that,
You're
right?
not sure. Like it would be a
We would
big,
force a test, and it
it
would be
would be a
like,
chilling moment if she demands that. And at that point you'd have to come up with some way of dodging the price. Okay.
yep.
Um,
Uh, it doesn't sound like we're arguing about price. Like, my only
mm.
like comment is like, I'm basically saying, look, I want to rent this place. You can give it to me or not. If not, I'll just move on. You should rent it to me because I'm an upstanding and believable person. So it's like, it might be falsehood.
Yeah, now you say it, it does sound like you're just trying to trick her. Do you have falsehood?
No, of course I don't.
Okay,
I have
great.
basically no social skills.
Um, I feel like I think I might be kind here. I might do falsehood versus haggling.
Okay.
Because she's just trying to extract a um
Advance.
she's trying to extract an advance. She's not trying to like she's up for being tricked. She doesn't mind if you trick her as long as she get like as yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm gonna give her a 4 in haggling because she's married to a merchant.
It's a good number.
Um,
Solid number.
I think 4 is probably yeah. I'm not gonna mess around and make up forks for this. 4 is fine.
I might be
So she
able to
has
pull
one
it off,
success.
but
So
I
it's
won't advance
obstacle.
my will, Ali.
You won't advance your will.
Right. Is it possible for me to like fork in the, because I was really just leaning on the noble affiliation here.
Mm.
Is it possible
You can take
for
a
me to
bonus
do
dice
that?
for your affiliation there. Yeah.
Okay. Base obstacle is 1. Will be doubled to 2. See how it goes. Not good enough.
um. Yeah. So she smiles and like um beckons her like oldest child over. They're maybe like 6 years old. And she says, um, Atsuro, I- this is a princess, a real princess. What can you tell me about princesses, Atsuro? And like they chirp up like, princesses have lots of money.
Yeah, like I think there's a moment where like Suria is just like, it's not how princesses work. uh, and sighs. She has not been keeping track of her of the actual amount of physical wealth she's holding onto her person.
Especially since you've like basically recently funded an expensive month-long expedition by boat. Um,
I I guess she'll just reach into like her little bag of money and see what she
yeah,
pulls out.
you're gonna pay with cash.
Yeah, I'm just
Okay,
gonna go for it.
you're just gonna go for it. I was waiting for you to do something silly like, hey, let's just produce. So I think we'll call this Ob One because this is like a third. Like this is Ob One, and it will reduce the next roll to an Ob Two, right? If you succeed. Um,
Yeah. Okay. Up one resources. I have no modifier to my resources. You know what? I'm gonna stick into Persona. I like. This is a matter of pride. I want to look bad in front of the peasants.
Nice.
I didn't even need to spend that Persona. So that was a difficult test. Oh, hang on. That could be a routine test. I'm taking routine. Heck yeah.
You get to choose, yeah.
Yeah, because it's 1 versus 1.
Because you're definitely next one is gonna be difficult because it's gonna be. Actually, no. Two versus one. You're gonna need an extra dice to help you versus. Yeah, you're gonna need some extra dice to help you versus the obstacle 2 test that you're gonna be taking later.
Yeah.
Do you want to note that down? Because
Yeah, sure. Let's put it in the practice log, I guess. Nah, I
yeah.
got notes. Op 2 tests coming up. Get money.
Yeah.
Hmm?
Okay. Yeah. As soon as you like produce this money, she becomes even more helpful and smiley, and like she shouts over her shoulder. And I think one of her house servants comes out, and probably her only servant comes out and starts assisting Tepiani with the moving things inside, or tries to briefly before she gets told that she's not allowed to touch anything out the second wagon.
Extremely fragile.
Extremely fragile.
Would not do for someone without training to touch that.
Yeah. So do you set up your workshop immediately? Or do you leave it for now
I think
and
like
go
we
and deal with them?
leave the crates sort of
Yeah.
there. We'll unpack as the components are needed.
Hmm. Okay. So yeah, it's mid-afternoon in the city. You can hear the market, one of the secondary markets, maybe 3 or 4 streets over, um, beginning to hit the one of the busier periods as people finish their business elsewhere and get there before they start cooking in the evening.
Yeah, I think like she's probably like trying to figure out, oh yeah, this is where Ethan's court is. This is where I will have to go. And like making sure she's properly attired as well. Like I remember I lost a lot of jewelry in that fucking test.
Yes, you melted all your jewelry in order to get through a door, and then
Stupid dog.
two people in series stole it from you.
Will,
Uh,
Will, when you're back here, when you listen to this, fuck you. There we go. That's what it is. Fuck
um,
you.
well, I mean, you searched his corpse, and you didn't find any money on it, so
It was there. I know it was there.
it was there. It was definitely there. um,
Would have helped here. Just saying. Alright. Uh, I remember you saying something about binary, like, basically I don't currently have binary or something like that. I don't quite
yes,
remember
I
the.
think that's what we discussed. We said like it discounts your. I can't exactly remember, but on off the top of my head, you'd originally bought Finery, right? Let's look at your character.
Yeah, I got binary.
Yes,
Finally,
you had
I have no
Finery,
clothes. I
and
just
then
got binary.
yeah. So I think what we did was we said this downgrades your Finery to clothing. So if you want it to be Finery again, you've got to get the jewelry again. Um,
Mm. Yeah, I think now she double checks her purse and is like, that's gonna be tricky.
yeah. Um, I mean, you're still wearing your like ancestral colors, right? You're still
Right.
wearing the cloak that has the pattern of your lineage on it. So it's
It's
identifiably,
identifiably me.
but at the same time you're appearing like you're pushing yourself a little too far towards the class of the people who are looking for aid and hospitality in the city. Like
Yeah.
if you were wearing finery properly, there wouldn't really be a question, right?
Mm.
It would be obvious that you're not one of them.
Alright,
But
give me another second. Sorry. Back. I'm really glad I locked that door. It's come in
nice.
handy.
Um, have you been muting yourself when you've been going off to
Yeah,
do this
yeah.
stuff? Nice. That's one of the advantages of this setup. Um, yeah. So, what is Suria off to do next? That's the question.
Okay. Yeah, so like she is kind of mindful that she probably doesn't look up to scratch.
Hmm.
And like that is definitely a thing she is concerned about. Uh sorry. It's a fucking party today. So everybody's just like horribly busy and there's not
Oh,
enough
okay.
rooms and the family is visiting. I picked a really good day.
You did, yeah.
Right.
Um,
Uh where were we?
what is Saria thinking about doing next?
Yeah, I think I'm gonna try to set up yeah, I'm gonna try to make fake jewelry.
Nice.
Uh so how do I do that? I need to go look up the rules again for that.
Um,
Do you have
so
that
yeah,
one?
looking
Could you just link it in the
alchemical,
Discord?
yeah, alchemical transformations. I'll link it in the. I'll link it in Milo. There you are. So I think what we're looking for here is we're looking to apply some sort of trait from gold and jewelry. Let's call it just golden to non-golden items, right? So you're taking a small amount of gold and making it look like a large amount of gold using the magic of alchemy.
Yeah. It's gold plated. It's good enough.
Yeah.
Basic effects, advantage. I guess this is kind of like uh, in terms of what I'm trying to do.
This is an advantage. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like you're trying to give yourself an advantage dice because of your binary.
Yeah. Properly tried.
So we're looking at +1 ob because it's not a specific like named die, or like it's not obviously a thing that ought to be a die or a coolong trait. So it's +1 ob. And advantage. Obstacle is 1 plus the advantage dice to be granted, so that's obstacle 2 so far. Target is I think target probably +0,
Like,
+1.
I think
Yeah,
like
target is +1 because it's a handful.
individual.
Yeah, and then
Yeah, no abilities things going on. No batch cooking.
nope.
So we good.
Yeah.
Oops.
And then we do internal duration. It's like essentially lost till users and then expended, right? You want it for one scene, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
I only need it for one scene.
So this is going to be the like as soon as you turn around and walk out the door, and as you do, what are you making or using to turn into fake jewelry?
I've still got like the silver like moon pendant, which
Yeah,
because it was gold was not it was silver, was
it's
spared the melting process. So we're working off that stuff instead and like trying to make a look that fits.
Okay. So you've actually got some actual jewelry.
Yes, I still have
So you're
some,
not
right. It's just,
yeah. So you're just making that look better and more expensive, rather than taking like wooden beads and turning those into golden
yeah.
or something.
It is kind of like I guess like if it's not even effectively upgrading it. I wonder if it's more just yeah, I think I like this better. Like the idea is to very clearly signal that I'm an alchemist. So adding magical effects which like cause the silver to sparkle a bit more, or like make it seem just a like what's the word for it, luster.
Yeah.
Make everything look
Like
better
to the untrained eye, it doesn't. It just seems like very high quality jewelry, but to someone who's familiar with alchemy at all, they'd know that what you've done is very
but it's sort of
So
meant to be a bit blatant, right? Like
yeah, a bit blatant. Yeah.
in the sense that like normal people will be able to say and go like that's not normal jewelry, but maybe
Yeah.
not know what is it. It is.
Yeah, and I guess you're like applying several different because like several different minor effects to this. Like you're working on one thing and then you're adding another thing.
Right. Like,
Yeah. And this will take you. This is obstacle 3, so this will take you another 3 hours.
I've got time.
Yeah. So it'll be early evening by the time you finish.
Mm. And failure is.
Failure is, the princess's slippers will turn back into pumpkins
Glass
before
pumpkins.
the carriage will turn back into a pumpkin, and the horsemen, the horses will turn back into mice.
At an appropriate time. Well, I guess
At
I
an
better not
appropriate
stay
time.
till midnight.
You're not
Right.
staying till midnight, but
Okay, I've got alchemy.
yeah.
Why does it say alchemist? I'm going to fork in cercination, for sure. I'm gonna fork in symbology. So, like, once again, we're sort of seeing like the alchemical circles being drawn, being used. Should I fork in astrology? I feel like I
Yes.
shouldn't, but it's always fun. Ooh, yeah, like.
Ooh.
I think part of it, like, she's waiting until like evening and using the light of the moon to like do some of that work. It's good stuff. Face obstacle tree. Don't fail me now, dice. Yeah, I'm fine.
Nice. So that's a 2 dice advantage to, I guess, conspicuous, or to something involving showing off how exciting you'd look.
To leverage that. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love to like just move on to the scene where like. I guess my next question is like, if I just head on up there, is there like an invitation system or something?
I don't think you've ever visited Etam before. I don't think you've ever had a reason to, and he's he is a big deal politically. I think you know where his house is because like everyone knows where his house is. So and yeah, his house is a villa built along the, like, he had part of the walls of the city destroyed in order that he could rebuild them as part, like, rebuild his
Just
villa,
build it
like,
into it.
built into the wall. Yeah, so it's like along the right hand side of the plateau, the wall rises up above the edge of the like, the cliff isn't very high, but the wall's sort of double the height above it, right? And then the top third of this wall is taken up with large windows with glass in, and long openings for air to get in, move in and out.
I kind of like the idea that it's probably like facing Chandrapur as well. Like the windows look up towards that direction.
Yes,
And just
yes,
always eternally vigilant.
yes. He's there's a large flag flying above it, which is the flag that he flew as part of the war against Chandrapur. That's not used elsewhere, but this symbol of a united Otsan is still being flown by him. Yeah, I think walking outside the door, you find there's a young man who's willing to punt you upriver for a couple of coins, and you reach the base of the plateau. Early evening. The people around here are like you. They look wealthy. You do attract attention with your getup, but it's not like people are turning around in the street to watch after you.
Not the point.
Yeah, it's attention grabbing, but it's not the most flashy thing anyone's ever seen.
Yeah. Trying to keep it under the ghost radar.
I think you probably do come across a couple of people that you recognize, like acquaintances from the part, like people who maybe you've done work for, like odds and nobility you've done work for in the past, or people who greet you by your family name.
Hmm.
Um, um, yeah, walking up towards the house. I think T- Tepioni begins to get really nervous. Um, like he's dressed in a very basic. Like I think he's wearing a kind of open tunic with his weapons shoved into a belt on the inside, and he's it's very sort of traditional um, Otson style poor man's garb.
Mm.
So he feels out of place, and especially like looking up as you approach the house. There's um, several young military officers standing around the outside near the gate. There's maybe a small table and they're playing cards around it. Um, but one of them's obviously um, yeah. There's one of them standing nearby. Um, s- um, should we say smoking from a pipe? Um, I'm not
I don't
sure.
see why. What's your concern with pipes?
Uh,
I mean, could this be like a
I'm
cigarette, right, rolled up?
yeah. Yeah, he's smoke. There's one of them is standing nearby, smoking something, and he's like obviously watching people who are coming up. You see you see him talk to a couple of men who are moving a cart full of a covered cart that has like water dripping out the bottom, um, pushing that into the house.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah, I think like Suria probably just walks just a bit slower so she can like whisper talk to like Tepiani.
mm,
Quit fidgeting. You're making us look out of place.
I feel out of place. I fought on the other
Perhaps.
side of the. These people. Listen, I don't think it's best for me to follow you in. You're not going to need a bodyguard in there, are you?
Unlikely. If you wish to have the day off, you may have it.
I mean, it's not really a day, but
Night, evening.
I'll I'll wait for you here. But just in case it's late when you leave.
Judging from the places we have been, I doubt lateness will be a problem.
Yeah, he does a very short bow to you. Um,
Yeah, I'm trying to tell him like, yeah, if you're not like okay hanging around here, just leave. I can handle myself.
mm. Um, yeah, so he turns around. Um, like he stands where he is for a moment, yeah, and lets you walk on.
Mm. And she does. Right. I'm probably like heading towards whatever the main entrance is to announce myself or some shit.
Mm.
She doesn't really know how it works either.
Yeah, so you walk up to this group of young military officers, and the one standing like leaning against a wall, um, stands up and throws you a mock salute. He says, A bit late in the day, isn't it, alchemist?
I find lateness of the day often helps with the conversation.
Is the general expecting you?
No, but he will want to speak to me. Putri Minang Surya Bulan. May I know your name?
Third officer Timidly.
Pleasure. Do you perhaps know where the general is right now?
He's at dinner.
Ah, a complication. Perhaps there is an open seat?
I wouldn't know. I do know that I saw quite a few notables making their way in.
Forgive me, I'm unfamiliar with the customs of this city. Is there perhaps an occasion?
The general wished to celebrate. He's had some good news recently.
Good news.
I haven't heard more about it.
Ah, a mystery. Well, if you could just direct me to the dining table, I'm sure I can handle myself.
I think he glances across at the others, and they're probably watching this conversation now. They put their cards down. One of them shouts across to you, "Is like, wouldn't you rather join us? We've got all night, and we'll introduce you to him in the morning."
As exciting as your game looks, I'm afraid I'm rather short on time. A matter of urgency.
If you want to speak to the general urgently, then you should join us. He loves coming out here and playing cards.
Oh? He does that often then, does he?
I think one of yeah, I think they're winking at each other and like having a bit of a laugh.
Yeah.
Do you want to try and work out whether they're lying or not, or do you just like
Uh,
want to leave this?
I don't think, I basically don't think she believes him.
No, okay,
Just
cool.
based on that. Like, it sounds like a joke. It's sort of put in a jovial manner, so it probably is a joke.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think like she looks to the original person she was talking to with just like
Mm.
eyes. So which way is the dining table? Room, room.
The dining room's that big set of doors there. It's the third building. Just one big long room. You've probably seen into it from the city below. It's the one with the windows.
Fascinating.
Unfortunately, I will have to ask you to wait until you're invited.
Of course. But perhaps someone could pass on a message.
He looks around. His friends. One of them puts up their hands and says, "I'm sorry, we're busy playing cards." and they just all like burst out laughing. And the guy at the door.
Yeah. I think she sits
How do you
down.
want to push this? How do
I
you
think she
want to
sits down and says like, well, and like picks up some cards, shuffles it, and says, "Well, I suppose if you're out of money, you won't be able to play."
there's like, ooh, like they're all like calling out at each other. The the guy standing by the door looks like visibly annoyed, because he's left out. I think Tepiani has he's already started chatting to like another of the another random soldier outside. I think they move over to the table as like, well, if we're adding one, we'll add two. That brings it to an odd number again. And he also gets sat down at the table.
What the shit? Does he even have money?
He barely does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, she like raises his eyebrow at him like sitting there.
He shrugs back. He's like, I like playing cards. I'm good at cards.
Well, that remains to be seen. How are we gonna do this?
So I feel like what you want to do here is you want to gamble them so one of them is out of money, right?
Yes. Like there are two ways I could approach this, right? There's
Yeah.
the like, I'm gonna gamble them off the table and be like,
Yeah.
well, thank you very much. I see you are busy now. Or you aren't busy now. Or like there's the other way, which is to ingratiate herself to like this group by being like good natured and like wasting money effectively.
Yes, yeah.
I think she's definitely going for the first one.
Okay, so you only need to get one player. You only need to brutalize one player. Yeah, so I think we
Can lose all my money.
Let's
it's really bad.
let's go for a one cash dice. If you win, you get one cash dice plus plus the result. If you lose, you lose a cash dice, and you'll get a chance to make the other roll, but you won't have like successfully done that.
Alright, cool.
They will be more flush with cash than they otherwise would be. So you're going to have to roll to generate a cash dice
as well.
Probably tax yourself immediately.
Great. Wonderful.
So, what skill with gambling
Link B.
should a soldier have?
I'm gonna look at the life paths. Could you just check the odds on gambling? Or like the root of gambling?
Root of gambling is will/perception, so it's
good.
lowest of.
Lowest of? I thought you picked.
Well, no, as in, do you pick or is it average? Like, because like, will/perception, I think it's an average between the two, so it would be like.
No, I meant like, I was just asking if I was doing a beginner's luck test.
Oh, beginner's luck. I can't. Yeah, I can't remember how.
Yeah, I'll take a look at
so
that.
I guess you pick. Yeah. Yeah. So you're getting a helping dice from Tepiani. Not particularly because he's actually good at gambling. but just because he like, you know him well enough that like when he starts going on like bidding high on a hand, you just drop out because like
He,
you know that he is actually a very lucky individual, and he ends up winning quite a few hands on.
I forgot about that. I'm now reminded of it.
Yeah. So we're getting helping dice from him. I think they're rolling 5 dice. Probably one of them has a 3 in gambling, and I think adding 2 help dice across the table
Makes
isn't
sense.
unreasonable because
Yeah.
they're playing against the pair of you to some extent.
Mm.
And I think that's like um I think that's partly why they invited Tepiani to join as well, because they were like, it
Wouldn't be
doesn't seem
fair
fair.
otherwise.
Yeah, yeah. Um,
Okay, let's do
okay,
this.
so let's see. 5 dice gambling.
Oh dear.
Oh dear.
So I have 6 dice. So I could use will or perception here.
Yeah.
If I used will, I would not get a challenging test. If I use perception, I would not get a difficult test. So I'm just going with the higher dice. I'm adding in the +1 help from Tepiani. I'm just gonna roll 6 successes. You know, it's not that hard. It's pretty easy actually when you think about it.
Yep.
Let me just actually write it down first. Perception 6. Roll modifiers 1, 3. Yeah, this is easy. Oh.
Oh my god.
Yeah, I'm sending that fate. No! Why? Why? I was this close.
That's excellent.
Shit.
That's very excellent.
1 success
Okay.
away. Yeah.
So I think what ends up happening is that like you get really close to doing like I think Tepiani's health actually ends up getting in your way a bit. He's pushing it too often. He's winning from you. Like he's forcing you down a bit more than you otherwise would be, right? So like I think he ends up walking away with most of the money that you put onto the table, or rather, like I think he ends up pulling a cash dice off this as well, right? He's pulling equally from everyone around the table though, because eventually they start getting the message too, and when Tepiani starts bidding, everyone just drops out. Like if he was a more duplicitous player,
He'd
he would
just
be
do it every time.
he'd clean up. But he's basically just not. He doesn't think of it that way, right? He's never had to learn that you're meant to lie in card games because he's just naturally gets ridiculous hands way more often than he should. Yeah, so I think you start reaching the point where you're nervous about the amount you've spent. We'll do the resources test after we do this persuasion test, so you don't like feel bad.
Oh no, I'll feel bad either way. It's fine.
You'll feel bad anyway.
Alright, persuasion. Yeah, that doesn't appear to be a skill I have.
So well, I mean, as they're losing, like, what are you as you're losing? What are you saying to them? Like, are you?
Yeah,
like, how are you going about this?
I think basically she's just like trying to befriend them, right? Like asking them about like, oh, what do you do? Like learning about them effectively and trying to like, yeah, be friendly.
Yeah.
Because like she's thinking like, yes, I could just knock you, and like definitely there's a lot of shit talk. It's a thing that happens for sure. Yeah, that kind of stuff. Like by the end of the night, probably like everyone knows, like she's probably made the effort to remember people's names.
Yeah, I think you probably play for like an hour and a half, maybe.
Hmm.
And yeah, about an hour probably before you get to this point.
Yeah.
Um. So yeah, how do you which do you have something you think you can argue for being rolled here, or
Um,
is this just a persuasion or a seduction test?
I feel
That
like
you
this is a persuasion test.
okay.
Uh, yeah, there's no skill for befriending people. Is the trick.
There isn't. No, there isn't. Um.
Okay, so I have 3 dice.
So I guess like the ending pitch is like, okay, you've won an off. Isn't it fair for you to go and
Yeah, right. Like, part of it is just like as we wrap up, I'm like, "Oof, this has been a terrible night. If only
okay.
someone would help me with what I actually came here for."
Okay. So six. We'll not talk about what the failure. I've got an idea for the failure.
Okay,
Um.
lovely.
Uh. Nice.
Card playing bullshit. What is my obstacle?
Um. Obstacle. I'm gonna say it probably defaults to 4. I'm gonna take it down to 3 because um it's late at night. These guys have been drinking a bit.
Hmm.
Um.
Is this a place
It.
where I could use like the advantage dice that
Yeah,
I've set
definitely.
myself up for?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, cool. So I have +2 modifier, which is pretty sweet. And my obstacle is 6. I'll be fine. I've got this. It's in the bag.
Oh, that's not a bag.
1 6, 1 fate. It's not good enough.
No.
Yep. Do you want to cut here for a moment and like take a 5
Come
minute
back
break?
in a minute.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. I'm okay with that.
Cool. So let me just switch off the audio. And we're back. Wasn't 5 minutes.
Not anything like 5 minutes.
No.
Good.
Hmm.
So, Suria makes this appeal, and then the guys at the table look round awkwardly at each other, and one of them says, one of them asks another idly, is like, "Do you reckon it's about 11 o'clock? 11 or 12? Yeah, we ought to be seeing them coming out soon. They're not going to stay much longer." And as they're saying this, you see one of the you see a priest wearing they're not wearing their full priestly garments, like the headdress and and the special cloak, but they're obviously wearing that clothes, and they're followed out by a servant. The guy at the gate drops his cigarette, and crushes it under his foot, and salutes them as they leave. And the others salute from where they're sat at the table. And one of the guys turns around to you and says, "The dinner's about over. Sorry we kept you so long. You probably could have interrupted, but now that's kind of by the by. Um,
Well,
on the
perhaps
plus side, on the plus side, we weren't joking when we said that Itan comes out to play cards with us. But on the minus side, he's unlikely to be talking much business. It'll get you an introduction at least." And then another one says, "Yeah, we're sorry about that. You seem like a nice girl, but he doesn't like people coming in off the street."
That is fair. I suppose I will have to come another day. Thank you for the game. It was enjoyable.
You sure you don't want to meet him?
I would rather do it in a more formal occasion. Good first impressions and all. I would not want his first impression to be of a person who loses money while gambling.
I think they look at each other, squint at each other for a moment. They're like, "I guess we'll be seeing you tomorrow then."
Of course. Until then. Yeah, I realized halfway through, I was like, yes, I could talk to the fucking general here, but that's not why I'm here. Right?
Yeah,
The belief is about making sure to send the right signals to the assemblage, who definitely are spying on the general. And the card game gets me nowhere in terms of that. Yeah, so this weird noble shit happens.
Oh my god, I feel brutal for putting you through this, but you
No,
did
no,
make a
it's
character
good.
that
It's fun.
is incapable of this kind of.
Well, at least I know their names now. Definitely. I have written them down. By which I mean, yeah, that'd be helpful no matter what. Yeah, I guess we go off into the night.
Mm.
And like Tepiani is probably like whistling as he leaves.
Tefiani is whistling and jingling a bit.
Stupid Tepiani. This close. Alright. Yeah. I guess it moves on to a different day.
Yeah. You go back home. You wake up in the morning and get served like a kind of mashed root vegetable and some egg.
Tasty.
Yeah, it is tasty. It's like good staple, like good quality staple food. There's some spice. Um, there's like a bit of a sauce that you have with it, right? Which is what differentiates
Okay.
these people from like that's differentiates these people from like someone who's poor. And the egg as well.
Yeah, because it's like usually you either do like potato mash stuff or you do eggs because they both have that effect on food where it's like slightly, it's not bland, but like it has like a regulating effect on like the food itself.
Yeah,
So you do need something to pair with it, otherwise it's just bland.
it's just like bland on bland. Yeah. Yeah.
When do we make that horrible resources test? That
Um,
ensures that I'm poor.
so either a month from now, right,
Mm-hmm.
or whenever the husband comes back as like we haven't got a better failure for this, but there's like we can push this from a later problem to a now problem.
Oh no,
Um,
like so my question was about the specifically like
oh,
gambling
the
test.
cash
Yeah.
dice. Yeah, no, we do that now.
Good. Wonderful.
Um,
What's the odds for the cash dice? Is it 2? I have a sneaking
I
suspicion
believe
it's
a
2.
cash dice is a 2 in order to succeed.
You know what? This
Um,
is just a really good opportunity for me to succeed, get my resources up a bit. Really, I should be thanking you.
Cash. You can produce cash. Ob2 chest generates 1 dice of cash. Um, do you ask Tepiani to
No.
to help? Okay.
Alright. I have 1 dice. I'm gonna spend my last persona. By the end of this, I'll have so many dice in like persona and resources. It'll be crazy.
You will. It'll be really dumb.
Fuck.
No.
Challenging, but unfortunately did not succeed.
Okay. So we tax your resources
By 2.
by 2.
Which means it goes down to big ol' 0.
Yeah. I think we just leave it there. I think that wipes your. Does that wipe your tests as well?
I think it does. Because otherwise I just go up to resources 1 immediately.
Yeah, on a route. If it was a challenging test, character's resources is reduced by the margin of failure. So I'm choosing to let you like not be in debt to some soldiers. And
So you're doing the gift of kindness thing.
doing gift of kindness.
Yep.
And the character's effective resources drop to exponent 0. His resources experience is dropped by 1, so that goes from 1 to 0.
That's it.
Yeah, I don't know if it actually says anything about clearing your tests. So
It
far.
must, because otherwise I just instantly go back up to 1.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. Makes sense. Can I fucking find a loan or some shit? Yeah. Just make sure not to make any more dice rolls involving money. Or just like money in
Yeah.
general, you know?
Yeah.
Okay. We've got until the end of the month. Yeah, I'm probably gonna have to change my beliefs to like, I need to tap the resources of the assemblage so I do not die of poverty.
uh, I need to do emergency random piecework for rich nobles so that I get some cash to put myself back together.
Oh yeah, that's why I'm saying, like, if I make contact with assemblage, I'm just gonna be like, money please.
No, but like you could also just
I could
do
also do that,
your job. Yeah.
but I'm choosing. But I'm on a timer here,
Yeah.
so I'm like, yeah. I think that's my path forward now. Shit, man.
Okay.
Okay.
So yeah, it's the night that you've had breakfast.
Okay, breakfast.
Tepiani, like he's finished like laying your stuff out for you, and he says, "Well, I had a great night last night. I hope we're gonna go and I hope I have time to go and talk to those guys again. I mean, if what they're saying is really true, it'd be, I mean, what an amazing chance. I'd just have to sit around playing cards for a couple of hours, and I get to meet the Etan, like someone like me playing cards against the great sage. That'd be a story I can tell my grandchildren."
Maybe you could even tell them the story of how you cleaned him out.
Oh no, I um I don't think that would be a good idea.
Oh?
No, I suspect that when the old man comes to the table, you play to lose.
Considering that he's a sage, surely it would be rather boring if everything that occurred was predictable.
I guess that's why he plays cards. They're random, right?
Except if people do what he says, you say, then it is completely determined from the start. Must be boring, winning all the time.
I'm not sure. I think if I was a big time general like him, I mean, it's more fun to win at cards than it is to lose at cards.
I would suggest that it is only fun to win so long as there is a chance of losing. At least on cards. Though I suppose you, with your luck, have never had that problem.
I'm not that lucky.
Oh?
There's a couple of other guys who came out further ahead than I did.
That had nothing to do with luck. And everything to do with skill. Next time when you play that game, like she gives him like a small bit of like bad advice effectively. Because she doesn't know shit about gambling either. Well, let's be off. Oh, are you sure you would like to come?
You're going back to
8 times, yes.
the general's house. I don't know. I would like to talk to him.
Well, you can take the evenings off if you wish. Then you might meet him in the game.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that would be a better way.
Very well.
Us talk casually, right? Rather than rather than making some sort of formal introduction. Yeah. Do you think he's religious?
Define religious.
I mean, not your sort of religious, the the proper sort. Do you think he cares about the temples and the ancestors properly?
Hmm. Can I make a history roll here?
Um,
History-wise roll or history
yeah,
roll?
yeah,
Try to figure it out.
he's a figure from history. Um,
Did I have history learned? I swear I had. No, I have ancient history.
Ancient.
No.
Oh no.
This isn't ancient.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
either you can make something up, or you can try and pull the correct answer using a being learnt, or you can just brush this off.
I'm
Like
always
I'm not
up for
locking you
learning.
in.
Yeah.
Okay.
Uh,
So what skill do we wanna pull in here? Are we going for like Watson history wise, or are we going history? Or are we going something else?
I kind of like history.
Just history. Okay.
Yeah. It's probably like
Um.
harder, but also more useful in more situations.
mm, um. Okay. So history. I think this is recent history. So ob 3.
Alright. Yeah, I can do this. It's 50-50. 50. No, actually.
Failure. Sorry, failure here. Oh. Wait.
No, go in.
Um.
The bad habits happening.
Yeah, there's bad habits. I think failure here is that mm, I think failure. The only actual failure consequence that can come out of it is that like no whatever you say, it's gonna make you look bad to Tepiani, right? He's gonna act based on whatever you say, and then embarrass himself a bit, and then like it's gonna make him like less respectful of your
Your
knowledge,
knowledge.
right? Um,
Yeah, I think.
so like next time he's not gonna like next time you give an opinion, like tell him like not an order but like an opinion of what he should
Opinion.
do,
It's like,
then he's just gonna ignore it.
It's probably wrong. Alright. So like, what is the base? Like, what do I come up with here?
I think you say that he is like he's known to be very religious, right? He has priests around to his house all the time. He made a big thing of talking about how he values Ottoman heritage and how he values the um, the grand traditions of the ancestors. I think he makes elaborate gifts to his ancestors every year, and like you'd have heard of maybe one or two of those things, but like that's enough for you to say, oh yeah, he does care about the stuff. It's real to him.
Yeah,
Um,
and I imagine I'm doing the thing where like I sort of either mix together or like confuse two like historical figures. There are probably like
yeah.
other generals under him who were like really cared about this and like were really like true believers.
Mm.
And that's probably like the yeah, there's been mix up because like I'm not that familiar with recent arts and history anyway.
Okay.
Mm. He is, I would say he is known to be religious.
That's that's good. I don't just want to meet him because it's a good story. I've heard he sometimes grants requests just from the ordinary people, and I thought it might be no. I need to do what I can. Just ask, see what happens.
Mm. Would you mind if I pry as to what you would be asking for?
Don't try and dissuade me. That's all. You're better at logic, and you were trained in a big college, so I'm probably wrong when I'm saying this, but I can't stand the thought of Tepiani was a good soldier. He was a good warrior. He was working for Ditan himself indirectly, I think. It's not right that he'd be left to just lie and not be buried properly. They ought to go and fetch his corpse and bring it back somewhere where it can be treated right. And well, they really ought to go and fix that temple. But but at least Teotsun, at least he ought to be buried properly.
Hmm.
I don't know. You wouldn't understand. You're not.
You're right. I can sympathize. I'm not sure I fully understand. It is a noble request, though I do not see why you thought I would oppose it.
Mm. Yeah, he nods at you and like thanks you. Um,
Yeah, alright. Shall we cut over to attempt 2?
yeah, so we're getting back there. There's only one of the same like young lieutenants. There's a slightly different crowd in front of the door.
Hmm.
And the one guy who's the same is like yawning and looks clearly the worst of wear. Like they clear. Um, when you walk up to the gates, he looks at you with like an ashen look on his face and says, "You were right to go home. The general kept us out till, oh god, it must have been about 4 a.m. or something." He gets like this when he's excited or angry about something.
I will make sure to
I've got a
check
couple of. I've got a day off coming up, so I'll struggle through.
it. 4. Hmm. Well, enjoy your day off, and thank you for the advice. Yeah,
Don't
and
expect don't expect him to be any worse for wear though. I don't know how he does it. He must have some sort of alchemist making him not have to sleep or some weird arcane.
if you need one of those, hmm. Yeah, like I think she says like, if you do need one of those concoctions, uh, you can find me at. I'm not sure where like the location is. I'm assuming there's just like an address, right?
Yeah,
Like,
just like it's like
he-
near the like off the second canal on the like on the third market. Like there's probably a name to the market as well.
yeah, she makes the offer, right? Like if you
Yeah.
need some sort of like weird coffee concoction, energy brown beans, brown energy beans concoction.
Super
Yeah.
energy. Yeah.
Yeah. Just leave a message with them. I'll make sure to brew one for you.
Um. Yeah. He sort of groans at you. He didn't. This isn't one of the guys who did well last night. Um.
Okay. Yeah.
He waves at the guy at the door and says, "Let her in, but she ought to speak to the general at least once. He can make up his own mind."
Hmm.
Um, and yeah, the guy at the gate just like waves
Checks.
waves at you and gives you a short direction.
Yeah.
Um,
Suria definitely has like a satchel with her.
mm,
She's got like some documents she's like bringing to general.
mm. And I think, yeah, you move through this area, and it's quite early in the morning still, so there's not a huge number of people around. You see, like this seems to be something of a meeting point for like the more established members of Etan's court. So there's a couple of people you see in like one of them's wearing a very obvious breastplate, like they're trying to appear all shiny and military and new. Um, there's some people. I guess you can recognize that they're merchants because they've got they're carrying documents as well and they're
Hmm.
having discussions. Um, you overhear um, and details about firearms and military movements. I think you pass by a table of a couple of noblemen who are discussing the refugee problem in terms of like how do we get these people to move on rather than how do we sort the problem and feed them. Um,
Just like every government.
yep. Yeah.
Uh, cool. Before we get into this, can we take a like short break?
Oh, we could take another short break. Yeah.
Cool. Switching those screens back over. Dut, dut, and dut. We're back. Okay. The other thought I had
We are back.
while on break. Oh, you're watching the Twitch stream?
Yeah, no, I was just checking. That's it.
Cool.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm not going to get to the priest in this session. Just maybe,
Yeah, it's
just
unlikely.
like. So I think
Yeah, I feel it's unlikely.
I'm gonna shift that to like trying to get Itan on site.
Okay,
Yeah,
nice.
because he's clearly got some pull.
Yeah.
By convincing Itan to by help me with the priest. Convincing Itan to help me convince the priest in Quackles of the Lamians.
Yeah, into the vault.
Yeah, I'm
Great.
just gonna say the priests, because it sounds off otherwise. Yeah.
Yep, cool.
That's good. Alright, we were sort of like, could you describe like the physical location, because you were describing like the people and like.
Yeah, I think so. The physical location is I think there's a wide courtyard, and there's several buildings that are like arrayed around this courtyard. It feels there's a single gate that leads into it, and no other gates at all. Right. You can see that quite clearly now you're inside. There may not even be any side doors. He's made this into a secure walled compound. There's a small room that you take for a minor barracks that like his active soldiers and guards would be staying in. There's a large 2-story building with 8 or 9 chimneys coming up that seems to be where all of the servants and cooking gets done. There's a set of stairs that lead up the side of another building, and then wind round a second story upwards to a large set of like I think it's not a closed door, it's like an open door frame, and through that you can see sunlight. That's where this like large dining room is that he has
Was
these big
hosting people
meetings
early
in.
on. Yeah.
And then that's the very top story. That's like you can see the battlements continuing either side of the rooftop there. And then there's also a couple of other doors that lead into buildings that are recognizably built after the traditional Ottoman style. Like there's a couple of there's architectural detailing, and there's the way that they look very similar to these big old grand stone mansions that the noble families have, except smaller and obviously new, and much smaller. Right, this is not designed for a whole large household to be living in. This is, small.
Okay.
Yeah. As you move up to these, like you can tell that they've got high ceilings. They're designed to be airy and slightly dark, more shaded than dark, with lots of small open windows to let in shafts of light and air at the same time. Yeah, and traveling like I think you like this is the place where you start seeing these other dignitaries and important people like sat around tables or talking together in antechamber. And I think you you move through saying your name and asking where Etan the general is, and eventually are met by um, a young woman dressed in a simple white tunic his with this symbol of like the same symbol that he puts on the flag on the on like stitched across the breast. Um,
Okay.
and she bows to you and says, "Good morning, princess. I've heard that you tried to receive an audience yesterday.
I did.
Our greatest our greatest apologies. Um, the the men on the gate are sometimes overly strict in applying the general's orders. My name is Malati Dayang. I am Itan's aide, an assistant. If you would follow me, I will show you to a room where you can wait. He will be free to talk soon. He is speaking with someone else just at this moment."
Hmm. I think she replies, it would be my pleasure. Like,
And this girl is, by the way, she's obviously from
Chandra.
Chandrapur. Yeah.
Yeah, clearly. Uh, yeah. Is it like a fast walk? Do I have time to sort of like ask questions?
Yeah, I think you have a few. Like when you reach this room, she bows to you again, and like she seats you on a chair and says, "If there is anything I can get for you while you wait, perhaps some iced water.
Uh,
We have ice here."
that will be perfectly fine. Just curious. What is a Chandran doing as the aide to the great hero of the Atsans?
Um. Yeah. So she is going to lie to you.
Oh no! What a terrible
um.
person.
I think she starts by like trying to evade you. She's like, oh, I, it's not that interesting a story. My family happened to end up in this city, um, and you know how it is. You look for a place you can be useful.
It seems you must be very useful.
Was that all?
For now, thank you for your hospitality.
Yeah, she bows to you and she walks through into the next room and um,
That's her deal.
yeah, you can. I think there's like you can actually see through into the next room. There's quite a few people. There's I think a couple of other tables of people. Um, there's some you can hear the noise of like people um doing clerical work. Right, there's you see someone walk through the open door carrying a bundle of papers, and then someone else walks back in and offers around drinks to some of the people in there. And it seems like Etan's taking audiences in just an ordinary office at the moment.
Hmm.
Yeah, another of these assorted military folk walks in and joins the conversation that you can overhear from the next room.
Right. While I'm waiting, I guess he's taking audiences in office, right?
Yeah.
Like, do I see a certain I guess through the glimpses of, or whatever, like, can I sort of assess who generally ends up in that room and, like, who gets to sort of listen in on these conversations?
Yeah, so it seems like he's like this doesn't seem like a very closed conversation kind of business, right? You can overhear from the next room. They're quite openly talking about new deal that they're trying to make with a family from Chandrapur to trade in luxuries. Like he's and then a second man comes in and starts talking to Ethan about his own estates and asking for advice on the best way to manage a certain problem that's come up. This feels like the sage's voice sounds light and unconcerned. He doesn't seem to be taking this terribly seriously. And really, you could probably just walk into the room yourself and join in. It's just that you'd be interrupting him if you did, right? He's clearly keeping you waiting rather than actually being extremely busy.
Right. I think what I'm going to do is to sort of keep listening in. You said the keep listening in and, like, try to find a point in time which, like, I can make an appropriately dramatic entrance. Right, like, to, like, be able to interject at a point where, like, I would have, like, something to say. If he's sort of entertaining some scholars, maybe, like, I could butt in with something.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm not sure what to ask you for here. Like, you're looking for a moment in the conversation where you can join and like.
Yes,
and
I'm looking for
join
an
on
in.
You're
Right.
looking for an in. Okay. I guess just pick a skill. And the success or failure like dictates whether you find whether there is such a moment that you can use easily, or whether you're kept waiting and you're forced to join on his. Like if you succeed on this, it will be impressive to him, right?
Yeah,
It will be
exactly.
like you're walking in, you're taking command of the situation, you're being like, I am competent and cool.
Yeah.
And if you fail, it will be the conversation will start on his terms, right?
Right.
It will be he is exercising control over you by keeping you waiting, and he will not be challenged in that exercise of control.
It sounds like etiquette. What's your read on the situation?
Yeah, it could be etiquette. Yeah, that's very reasonable. And then forking whatever skill you want to tie into that narratively.
Forks. None of fork of you have the skill in the first place, Ollie.
I'm glad that you're really honest about like arguing for skills that you don't have.
It doesn't hurt, really.
It doesn't hurt. Etiquette.
I can spell that word. Maybe? Yeah, got it.
Proper courtly behaviour for a ducal lord or for the king. I feel like this is op 4.
Oh. Oh, is it now?
I feel like it is.
It's an obstacle for test, Ollie.
I feel
Just
like
to
this
be
is an
clear,
obstacle 4 test.
it's an op 4.
Because he's looking for like he doesn't have any formal politeness involved, but he is very strong on informal politeness systems.
Right. The reason why I'm asking is because at, etiquette is a will/perception test,
It is.
and as we all know about, oh, what's going on here?
As we all know about Lee, is he
loves-
loves advancing his stats.
Yeah. Okay. I got this. I've only got to beat up 8.
This is classic, like, one-player games, though.
It's failed at everything. Yeah. Oh, right. Additional complications. Oof, that wasn't
Nice.
even a good roll. But hey, will 4.
So do you wanna describe how you chip in and what you say? Like, pitch whatever conversation you like that's going on at the time, and then
I think it's probably something to do with alchemists. Right? Like, she waits until that moment where, like, oh yeah, this is a subject I'm confident and like can speak on.
yeah, they're talking about recruiting new alchemists from the center and whether it would be more efficient to send their own young men and women or continue recruiting mostly people from Chandrapur who, like, there's more of them, right? There's more Chandrapur like it's a discussion of the need to scout more young Otson alchemists and the best way that they can start doing that, and like a very dry conversation around that.
Yeah, I think she probably walks in and like sort of points to the Chandran system of like scouting as like a method or like a good method to like do this by. Right.
Yeah. Like, well, of course, if you did it this way, then
if it works there, I see there's no reason why it would not work here.
And I think there's another alchemist talking. Like, you recognize that they're wearing like I think the way that you recognize that is they've like their robe sleeve is like a bit charred, and they've got some obvious like measuring instruments and various of the random accoutrements you collect, like, just poking out one of their pockets in a slightly absent-minded way. They're very taken aback when you chip in and speak. They're an Otson themselves. And the third man is one of those wearing military dress. I think you've seen him a couple of times. He's probably, if you hung around at all the previous night, you'd have seen him walking out of the dinner then.
Okay.
I think as you walk in and start speaking, Ethan glances at you briefly and then says to the others, I must introduce, of course, my guest. This is Suria Bulan. You may have heard of her father, Demanglabat, an alchemist of some fame. Suria, this is Amatsin, one of my alchemists, and Akatli,
I should write some names
senior
down.
commander Senior Commander Akatle. Now, the reason we're discussing the system of promotion is precisely because we have found the Chandran system lacking. Why do you think that would be?
Perhaps social factors are interfering with the proper procedures involved. Not all cultures are the same, not all nations are organized in the same way. But I'm sure you have more specifics.
There's always more specifics. It takes a long time to really learn how things work. If I wanted every Otson child who could learn to go to the center, well, that would be a lifetime's work on itself. I'll settle for what I can get.
Okay. Here's the bit where I'm kind of like, I've got the audience, right?
Yeah.
I've gotten where I want, but I'm still like, how do I actually communicate the assemblage thing? I feel like Suria's probably prepared a very specific code, right? She mixes in like the cadence with certain keywords with like certain details, which to the untrained eye would be like, probably just like nerves or something.
Yeah.
But it's like a coded like signal.
You've got I mean, I guess like come up with something to say, and then like as long as it sounds obviously coded enough. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I think Itan nods to the alchemist he was talking to and says, I'll expect your findings on that problem we discussed tomorrow. Akatle, you stay here. You'll want to hear this. Well, girl. You've come here for a reason. Let's get it over with. And he gestures to a he gestures to motion you closer.
Yeah.
And he's sat down, I think, in front of it's another of these like vertical window slits. It's it lets in more breeze than it does light, but he is illuminated pretty well from behind.
So it's almost like look out into the world window sort of situation where like there's light coming in from those areas and like sort of, what's the word for it? Silhouetting him or something?
Yes, a little bit, yeah. He's sat there's a low table next to him that has a bowl of fruit and a jug of water that he's drinking. And
very well. The reason I have come.
Do you want to make me a perception test just quickly?
I'm a big fan of perception tests.
I'm gonna call it a 4.
It's an interesting number. More than 3. Less than 5. Nope. I got a 6.
Okay.
I have 1 fate.
Okay, so I will tell you what the result of that was, but I'll tell you like after,
Right.
because it will have it would have affected. Yeah. Um,
Very well. The reason I have come before your august assembly, I'm in need of some help. You said previously that some things take a lifetime's work. I'm sure you're familiar with my father and his work.
I've spoken to Demang Labat before. An interesting man, although not a valuable one. I'm sorry to hear of his loss, of your loss.
I see Moatzola has updated you on the situation. Then perhaps you know why I'm here. I have reason to believe that the vault that the priests of this city keep so tightly secured is no tomb at all. But a clue.
He raises an eyebrow at this, and Akakli lets out a controlled breath through his nose, and begins to frown.
With the blessing of your governor, I explored an abandoned tomb. And I've come back with, and like she reaches into a satchel and like pulls out like the charcoal like etching she's done previously, and entered that vault. There were certain complications, but the issue at hand and the point is that that vault and its contents lead me to believe that the one over here will provide the next clue. I require your help in convincing the priests.
As you finish talking, Akakli goes from frowning to like he's staring angrily at this paper, and you can see his eyes moving. Like he's not really reading this. He's picking up words here and there. I think he turns back to you and says, "Is this the only copy you have?"
Yes.
This kind of sacred text doesn't belong in the hands of a foreigner like you.
If you wish copy, you may have it. I'm not here to hoard knowledge. Merely add to it.
He puts his hand on the table, like on top of the copy, and says, "I'll be giving this to the priests."
Could you perhaps leave it with me for a day?
I think Ethan looks between the two of you and says, as a, as a religious man, of course, well, as a researcher, you must agree that these things should end up with the priests eventually.
Of
Yes.
course, I merely require a day to make copies. As I said, not here to hoard, merely to add.
um, I think there's a role here. I think there's a role, like, because Akachli doesn't want you keeping this thing.
At all,
It's
right? Like,
yeah, it's whether he backs down, right?
hmm.
I think there's a role here.
I don't think this is a persuasion test
No,
because like it's not about best interest here, right?
Nope.
I'm gonna lobby for like rhetoric.
I feel like rhetoric is fine.
I finally get the skill I'm skilled at. What? Madness.
I'm gonna go for a I'm gonna go for a difficulty. I'm not sure if it's 4 or 5. I think he probably has will 6, right? He has will 6 because he's a commander.
Yeah.
So
Old
maybe
one.
it's this guy's middle aged. He's clearly being like he's clearly he's maybe got higher ranking insignia than you would expect for someone his age. I think his will perception is going to be 4.
Okay. Oh yeah, rhetoric targets perception, does it?
Yep.
Well, good to know. I have a rhetoric of B3. I have feels like no forks. Unless you can think of something. Like I feel like there might be something in like this is history we all share, right? Like but I don't think like my knowledge of ancient history actually like helps here. So I think I'm just gonna roll with 3 dice. Obstacle 4?
I'm just looking at your sheet. Yeah, it's given like you didn't really argue onto
Yeah.
like why. Yes,
It's not
no forks makes sense.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's not
You
a
could
very
have
it was like a tightly constrained argument, like
Yeah.
conversation that I
Yeah.
don't think like had much to do with forks.
Yeah.
Failure, what does it mean?
Failure means he is going to keep hold of this piece of writing, right? And you no longer get to use this to to push things on. You could also give this up and then try and get something else out of giving it up. Like,
I mean, that's probably where I'm gonna like pivot to next, right? Like, yeah, you have it now. Well, I assume you'll read it and find that what I say is true. You'll need help decoding the next part of it. Right.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So that's failure. Success is Etan intervenes and says like it's fine. Let her copy it.
Success. So far away. Yeah. Alright, before we move on, really sorry, but I think, can we take a short break here? And come back?
Yeah, we can,
like
yeah.
2 minutes? Go.
This is the crying about how many failures you've got break.
Every day.
Every day. Cool.
Right. Boop, boop. Done. All right, we're back.
Nice.
Yeah. So the mean man takes my papers.
Yep. Yeah, I think he takes the papers. Like he glances at them again. Like it looks like he's trying to read them for a moment, and then he folds them and tucks them into a jacket pocket.
Well, I suppose you'll simply have to provide me a copy. If you do need help translating or decrypting those messages, my services are at your disposal.
The Otson language, the ancient Otson language, is a historical secret of our religious orders. He turns back to Ethan and he's like, This is one of the problems of sending our young men and women to the center at all. We gain a lot of knowledge, but we're giving up things that we ought not to. I still think we should arrange for teachers from the center to come here. We won't lose too many opportunities that way. And keep our knowledge to ourselves. Prevent those northerners from getting it.
Those northerners did just provide you with a further infusion of knowledge. Things are lost with time, and things may be regained. It helps if we help each other in regaining them. I would not have been able to add to your knowledge without the knowledge that was passed on to me. I understand that there are cultural concerns, but culture shifts.
Ethan smiles at this. He says, Culture does shift, but people's natures don't. Not so long ago, well, let's put it this way, you people from Chandrapur are like dogs. You came down seeking to tear us to pieces and eat us whole. And now that you've been whipped, you slink around the edges, scouring for scraps that you can bring to us for payment. He's smiling at you. He's properly smiling at you. Like he knows that he's needling you. But his companion nods, taking it seriously. I think you hear a gasp from behind you. The young woman who you saw before, Melati Diane, has just come back in the door. She's holding a jug of ice water with, you can see a twist of fruit rind floating in it, and she's gone very pale, and yeah, she looks more scared than you'd expect, and worried than you'd expect from that conversation. Like she seems to have taken it personally.
It seems old enmities are hard to forget.
It doesn't pay to forget these things. It's why I'm grooming a Hackley. Someone who understands the value of tradition. It's good. It's useful.
Then let me help you. There's still more to that vault. I know it. You seem to have made a practice of using people of talent, outsiders or no. Continue that tradition. I'll ensure you're not disappointed.
I'm a hospitable master. I'll take in any dog who's lost, as long as they'll learn not to bite. But I'm not the master of this country anymore. I keep saying to people, take your problems elsewhere. Leave me to enjoy my retirement. Well, in your case, I don't have to point you very far down the road. Hackley's been the prominent figure in this city for some time. If anyone can help you speak to the priests, it's him.
I think she shifts her attention to Akatley, but says, "Ants do not go where there is no honey, and cats do not go where there is no food. For all that you've said, you have no power in the city. You seem to be able to always provide the help that is needed."
Yeah, Hackley. I think he frowns very visibly, like he's very annoyed by this. He just says, it's my opinion that these vaults have stayed sealed for centuries. Only the priests know if they've ever been unsealed. They keep the records of passage, of visitation, of all of the rites that are performed around them closely to themselves. As the secular arm of this city, we shouldn't offend tradition by stepping outside their purview. It wouldn't be correct for us to speak to the priests on your behalf. I would say exactly the same thing to an Otson scholar who came to me asking this question. This is a religious matter and should be dealt with solely by the religious community.
I
Yeah, Ethan nods between the two of you, like he's waiting for your like final argument here.
Right. I trust in that my work will be passed on to them. And my name will be known. The secular authorities might rightly not wish to interfere with the priests, but the knowledge I have just provided you should then be brought to them by someone outside of the secular authorities. I can walk down that road and pass those papers on to them myself. Yeah, I'm having trouble like coming up with like a good thing. So instead Suria's going on the like, look, I already gave you some shit. Like, at least tell them that I sent it out, right? Acknowledgement of work.
Yeah. Do you want to go for a roll here, or do you want to just leave it at that? I think if you leave it at that, it will be a like I feel like this conversation has maneuvered itself to a point where like he'll just nod at that in order to leave the conversation there. Your name will get mentioned in association with papers, but you'll have to actually show your usefulness in future in translating them to get any bonus dice out of it, right? Like you'll actually have to demonstrate that you have an ability associated with this. So that it will be a kicking it down the road, right? It will be kicking it down the road to a test later rather than a social test now. Or you can make a social test now on this and say like make this more of a push.
Right, like the argument here is like, yeah, if you want to give them the papers, go ahead, but just like tell them I
Yeah,
did it, right?
yeah.
Which
He's happy to like he's satisfied with doing that, but in order for that to like give you significant advantages, you'll need to be able to show that you can translate them as well, right?
oh yeah, I think I'm okay with that. Like, I
Cool.
just want to make sure to like be able to piggyback off their name when
Yeah.
like they're handing over the papers, right? The idea being like it's sort of a what's the word? It's a endorsement by association.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah.
I think I can actually yeah, he nods at this and looks at it and says, "Was there anything else, General?" Anisan raises a hand to dismiss him.
So, I feel like I stuck a bunch of references at the start of the conversation.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering when we're gonna do the cryptography or like the role for that test, right? to gain the attention of the assemblage and get them to contact me.
Yeah. Um. So, just for the sake of the audience, and not for me, who's paying attention to that. No, I wasn't able to pay that much attention to that because I was having to think of like good responses in the conversation.
Yeah.
So, like, what specific things were you pulling out there?
Okay, so like I was definitely dropping word associations, right? Assembly, your August assembly.
Yes. Yeah.
What else did I put in? I don't think I put in much else, but I'm going to say that Suria put in like stuff in that language. Which
Yeah.
if you go
Okay.
back and look, you'll probably find. But like the main point is like that sort of like the, hey, this is kind of a weird word to use here.
Mm.
And then following on the conversation, the philosophy that is espoused seems remarkably similar.
Mm.
Right? Those are the two big things.
Yeah, I think we can make that roll now. I think that feels fair. So we are looking at the cryptography. This is like a broader use of cryptography than we really ought to, but I feel like there's no other specifically.
Yeah. Cryptography is the art of creating deciphering codes.
Deciphering code. Yeah, and that's not just the graphy is the misleading part. Obstacle. Cryptography successes set the obstacle to cipher with research or cryptography.
No.
Nice. So we're gonna do a roll from you, and then we're gonna do an opposed roll against it. And we're gonna establish what your difficulty was, and what test you get in retrospect. Right? Because you're rolling against obstacle. Or maybe you roll obstacle 1, and then deciphering things is the only way you can pick up difficult tests.
I feel like there might
I
not
think that's correct.
be
Yeah.
a reason to do a versus test here.
No, there is, because it's like there's still the question of like, were you too obvious, right?
Oh yeah. That can be the failure though, right? Like I'm perfectly happy for that to be the failure. It's just that like is a versus test required?
Oh, why is it a versus test?
Yeah, because is it like the odds and Itan is the one I'm sort of rolling cryptography against?
I think the way I treat sages is that like if they have a skill that's appropriate and they could potentially pass the test, then they probably most situations, if it sounds directly involved, he ought to have most information regarding most stuff that goes on, right? Because you're being a member of the assemblage is a stable point in your history. So he would have, if he's ever encountered you before, he would have had the chance to learn. So, and you kind of know that. So, like, I think by approaching him at all, you're taking a chance that he is going to personally use that knowledge, or personally already have that knowledge. Like, but you've got no way of influencing that. So, like, to some extent, it's not worth trying to pussyfoot around him. It's just anyone else in the room, right? Anyone that there's it's if there's other agents of other people also sat in this room, because like he doesn't run this thing out of a busy office for no reason. He runs it out of a busy office because he kind of wants people to be playing with some information.
So he
and
can
drip. Yeah, he's having this conversation here to drip feed information about what you're doing to different people.
Okay. So are you making the versus? Are you making that roll now, or? What was failure? Sorry.
Failure
to
is
the start.
failure is so failure is the Bud of the Lotus agent who is sat in this room right now picks up not only that you're interested in the, because that's quite plain, but that you're a member of the assemblage, right? So they pick up who your secret society.
Good shit. I'm in trouble.
Yeah. So we are rolling I'm gonna call it. I'm gonna call it 3 dice in cryptography. Are they a professional spy? Maybe they've got better.
Yeah, I feel like they
Cryptography.
might be.
Yeah,
Just
they
a little
probably
bit better.
they probably got they've probably got 5. Let's
Mm,
be real.
sounds about
they've
right.
been they've been practicing.
Yeah, yeah.
There's lots of other spies around here. Oh, 2 successes. Okay,
Very good spies, apparently.
they're busy.
Alright.
They're stressed. You know,
You can't
they've got to do all
listen
this.
in on every conversation and be
They're doing
like,
paperwork at the same time, right?
okay, I have cryptography of B tree. I want a fork in symbology.
Yep.
And I wish rhetoric doesn't feel like it fits. There's like a really weird angle there, but I'm not sure it fits well enough, so I'm just not going to. Yeah, I guess I've got 4 dice. 2 successes, huh?
Uh-huh.
Am I on defense or on offense? Doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
Shit.
So yeah, so as Akashi is leaving the room, Ethan beckons Melati Dayang over the table, and has her refill his glass with water and give you some water as well. I think he says, "So, what did you find in the vault? Just these writings, historical documents?"
Well, those writings are not merely historical documents.
Though indeed they must have been some value. Did you find treasures there as well?
Treasures of the intellectual sort, let's say. Parts of a code to solving the riddle that my father worked on.
Many times Demang Labat has come to me asking for assistance. And not once have I thought it worth my while to give him even a moment's worth of help. If there was a way to dissuade that man from his course, I would have looked for it, but some people are born into this world with an unshakable faith in what they believe their destiny to be.
You do not believe it's possible?
If it were possible, where are they? We would have seen people, well, the old king in those stories of ours. He managed it, but he vanished, and his perfect society of grandparents seeing their grandchildren born and seeing those grandchildren born after them, the origin of our ancestor worship, all of that is long gone. Show me a secret I can use today, tomorrow, or in the next life. And he smacks a bit, because that's a reference that you'd get, but I don't think the Janist religion and the Janist way of seeing the world isn't widespread in Otsen. So they call him a sage, but they don't quite have an understanding of what that means. Right? And you do, because you've been to the center and you've like even in Chandrapur, they probably don't have like it's more of a religious thing, right? It's not because they don't have enough of them. They've got one very notable, um, like
figure.
Etan's counterpart, basically.
Mm. I suspect that would be extremely difficult at this stage. Perhaps later on in this cycle, I will have found the proof I require. Well, even if immortality is but a myth, the discoveries that can be made from such a search, can provide excellent benefits.
I will need those benefits. If you... Someone who would able to provide me with that knowledge. There is little help I would not give them. Little advice, little protection. It would be more important to me even than retaining the loyalty of the traditionalists and those who want to set up a more united Otsen, like Akakli.
I think we see a moment here. Like Suria sort of grips the bag that she's holding just a bit tighter.
Yeah.
And like we hear the clinking of glass. But she lets it go. And says, well, I shall have to strive to find the knowledge you seek. Thank you for your time. If there is nothing else.
I think he turns to his aide again and Melati, tell me, which sycophant gave me this pot and these pouring glasses? And she has been like hovering at his shoulder. She gulps and says, I'm very sorry, General. I don't recall. It was a long... You've had them quite some time. I could ask about and find out for you. It mustn't have been earlier than sometime in the last 3 months, I think. And he nods and he says, I've had them on display long enough. Here, Suria, take these as a gift. If someone asks you who gave them to you, say my name, that's all. They're not especially valuable, but they're well made. And yeah, he passes, he indicates this stuff, and his aide picks them up and says, I can carry them outside for you.
No, that'll be quite all right. And like
as she picks them up, you notice that both the vase for flowers and the pouring jug that she's holding, and the glasses that you've been drinking out of, you've been paying too much attention to the conversation so far to really pick this up.
Yeah.
They're all decorated with a design that's just very heavily reminiscent of a budding lotus flower.
Hmm. Yeah. I think like she picks up the vase
Yeah.
and like sees that and then drops the vase.
I think yeah, Melati Diang screams, and
I'm
um
so sorry.
and she's just like she's stumbling over herself, over her words. She's like putting this, like sweeping this stuff up into her hands, and then looking around for somewhere to. And the clerk has stood up and has walked over to her and like pats her on the shoulder and starts helping her um, move the shattered pieces of this vase.
Hmm.
The room has gone silent, and it stays silent for a few moments.
Yeah.
And then
There's just a lot of awkward apologizing in this scene.
Ethan begins to laugh softly as you walk out the room.
Yeah. It's a really good thing I didn't like pull out the bad banana jar. It was like, hey, buddy, I got a weapon for you. Yeah. Do we want to wrap up there? I feel like that's a good space to do it.
I think we leave it there.
Oh. Shall we do some Arta?
Let's go through Arthur, yes. So, belief 1. I will not suffer to live under the same stars as my father's murderers. I will find the bud of the lotus by convincing Etan to help me convince priests to allow me access to the temple vault. We worked towards this. You could have pushed a bit more, a couple of moments,
Yeah.
I think. But
I could have,
I think
but I was having trouble like finding the fictional like.
I think
space
one
for it.
thing I could have done that I caught myself on much later is I could at a certain point in the conversation have said, okay, this is just now a duel of wits. It's you versus the general. General is saying we need to uphold the traditional values, and you're saying I can get us good stuff by accessing the vault. Like that definitely could have been a thing I could have pushed for. But I guess we can do, like that's a thing. I still want to do that, but I think we do that next time with like the conversation directly with the priests, right?
Because I felt like I definitely sensed the deal of wit potential there as well.
Yeah.
Right. But also like I'm not sure I wanted the deal of wits to handle this scene specifically.
I feel like it worked very well as a conversation.
Yes, it did.
And then we had like a couple of moments that were role. Like I am pleased with the way that we handled roles in that conversation, apart from the like potential for a duel of wits.
Yeah. Because it would have been a lot harder to stuff my cryptography stuff in as well in that moment. Okay, yeah. Let me take that fate. I already taken that fate. I have. Ooh. I guess I worded this wrong.
Seek out the Quetzal chapter of the assemblage by identifying and contacting their agent at Etan's court. I feel like I'm going to give you the persona on this because we're never going to do this again. You have contacted them, right? You've we both knew what your intention was, and
we failed to catch the wording of it.
We failed to catch the wording. So one scene that is going to happen next time is the assemblage agent to get into contact with Suria.
Last one. Knowledge is the only thing, only N. Everything else merely a means to it. I played it up in that conversation, and
I feel like there was a persona on the table right there, and you said, "No,
yeah,
I will not take this persona. I am a good girl."
Yeah, I was definitely like, there was a point at which I could probably have shifted tack and been a bit more diplomatic there, but chose not to.
I'm looking forward to the point at which Suria goes to Ethan and asks for a really private conversation, because
that's the thing, right? Like, she could have been like, "Here are these papers. Let's have a private talk about them," and she didn't.
Yeah.
Always
So that's definitely a fate for that. Always share my knowledge with the
I
ignorant.
did.
You did,
And it got me in trouble. Poor Tatiani's gonna be so embarrassed.
Oh, that's so great.
I did interrupt a conversation instead of just standing still and waiting patiently.
Yes, you did. Yeah.
5 fate. I've got so much fate again.
And you turned down the opportunity to
Did I? Like, I dropped the vase out of shock.
No, I mean that's not
what
actually a good antecedent, right?
Yeah. No, hang on. That's a really good antecedent, actually, because of the sympathetic magic.
Oh yeah, quite possibly.
Which I played with her.
Yeah. Okay. So then traits: aggressive. Not really. I'm not sure on traits. If you want to suggest any that you think you picked up.
I played Imperious, but it didn't really get me in trouble in front of the what's her face. I think there's an argument for like colorful or aggressive for the card game scene.
I liked the card. Yeah, I think that was aggressive. That was aggressive.
It was a really fun scene. Okay.
I feel like I include card games in so many of my games. Like I think I've had 2 out of the last. Yeah, two of the last 4 campaigns have had like a big card game scene, and they've always been amazing. And it's been you in it both times, actually.
Wait, what was the other one?
The other one was where you like walk into a demon's house and you were like, "Hey, I want a thing," and he was like, "Play me at cards," and you both cheated horribly, but neither of you knew the first thing about cheating, so it was really silly.
Which system even was this in?
This was Burning Wheel. This was in the Demon City game, right?
Oh yeah, I did cheat badly.
You cheated really badly at cards. You were magically cheating, and he was just cheating with sleight of with completely untrained sleight of hand, because although an enthusiast, he was not actually
a good cheater.
trained. A good cheater, no.
Alright, yeah. That's all the things on the character sheet. Let's take a look at the other Arthur stuff.
Yeah, so I think what we're going to do with other Arthur is earned when appropriate, because otherwise you're going to be very starved on everything.
Embodiment? I feel like
this might be an embodiment session.
That was a really good scene.
Just getting back into it, like that was a good scene. Yeah.
Humor? I'd feel like a bit double dipping if I'm like, card games, eh?
That's mostly just me laughing at the fact that we failed every single roll this session.
No, I got 1 successful roll, I think.
1 successful roll?
Two.
Where was that?
I got 1 for the resources and 1 for the only thing I'm actually good at.
The only thing you're actually good at, yeah. You just need to do more alchemistry. Like honestly, if you decide to do like a belief about I'm gonna take some time and earn some cash on alchemy, like I'm okay with that because that would be fun, right?
Yeah.
We will get to introduce some random fun shit.
I,
To
I
just,
I can see that, and I can see how that would be really funny and fun to play.
but
But
it will be a miss on the like. I agree that it makes more sense to just ask the assemblage to fund you a bit, right?
yeah,
'Cause
it will
that's
be a tonal shift, which
yeah.
maybe I don't want right now.
If you have to, then you probably should. But like, because what we don't want is the story to be and now Connor is homeless. Sorry, and now Suria is homeless.
I'm okay with the first one, I think.
Yeah, Connor's already homeless.
What? What?
Yeah, yeah.
Alright. Okay, yeah. That's great. Should people follow you on anywhere? I'm gonna wrap up. Oliver?
I do not have any social media and will not be getting any. And if we only places we're uploading the VODs for this on the YouTube channel Whitebridge. So I'm sure this will be linked somewhere in the Twitch description.
Sure.
But
Once I
good.
figure that out.
Good. But aside from that, I do not regard myself as a public figure.
Yeah, that's cool. If we're gonna talk about Burning Wheel, let's go to Burning Wheel Discord, I guess.
Pretty much.
Yeah, I'm sort of the same. Yeah. I was thinking about like pitching my like meetup, but I suspect the target audience for this is not going to care.
Yeah, you run. I don't know how many Malaysian people are going to be listening to this.
Hey,
That's like an
there was
even more.
one Malaysian. One Malaysian
Okay.
was on the stream. Or
Okay.
maybe it was Singaporean.
Okay.
Well, that's that. Alright. I guess I'm ending the stream now.
Cool.